I laugh when I hear the smartest guy with a bow tie in Chattanooga, because really, that's just a bit of puffery. I'm the slow man of Chattanooga, and I ask the dumb questions. And I think often if the question is dumb enough, it is often more memorable and more telling than any answer that the good official or the important person or the wealthy patron might have to offer. The slow man asking the good questions. Now, I've got some questions for a woman named Ursula Edwards. She runs a nonprofit charity, Quality Lifestyle Services. And the news from Ursula is that she's just recently gotten a $300,000 grant for a fourth and fifth house. There are houses that she operates, 5 of them now. 2 are in Saudi Daisy and 2 on Jersey Pike and 1 on Moore Road. People who are in these houses they were formerly homeless, and they are some of them people who are afflicted with what we call mental problems. There are folks who need a little bit of care, and this is an important story to hear about, because it suggests a relief valve, a pressure relief, a release valve for the jail overcrowding problem. We have in Chattanooga and Hamilton County a problem called the criminalization of poverty, the criminalization of homelessness, and in a way, the criminalization of mental illness. In fact, it's so bad that Sheriff Jim Hammond says that as much as 40% of his population include people who have mental problems. And we heard a story earlier from Sunday's newscast about the badly injuring of a man in Sevier County, whose wife called authorities and said, "My husband is threatening to injure himself." Guess what happened? The cops shot him. The Sevier County Sheriff's officers shot this man, and he's in serious condition. Timothy McGill, age 41. This occurred Sunday, and TV9 reported it, I think, Monday. And there are not a lot of details from that, but the TBI is looking into this attempted assassination of a citizen, a man who had done nothing worthy of capital punishment, but because he was not stable in his mind, drew a weapon or pointed a weapon in some way, and the situation was not adequately de-escalated by the CIT training that the officer had, or he didn't have it, and crisis intervention training, he didn't have it, and so there was bullets going at least one way against Timothy McGill. So there are people like that in Chattanooga, and Ursula Edwards at Quality Lifestyle Services deals with them, right? And these are people who are potentially defendants. They're potentially the object. They're potentially people who might be called subjects, right? That's what happens when you have these stories. The victim, the civilian victim, is the subject who did the wrong thing, made the wrong move, put his hands in his pockets, or was holding an object that looked like a firearm, and is in danger. And he's not speaking rationally. He can't think in terms of, he can't make a real analysis of his circumstances there with the officer. And so you have another encounter, another bloodletting by the good people in the uniform, and the civilian, the citizen who has done nothing worthy of death, and yet faces lethal peril at the barrel of an automatic. The money came from the Department of Mental Health, $300,000. And Ursula, tell my listener how it is you came into this work. First of all, you had first one house, then 2 houses. How did you develop this charitable labor, Ursula Edwards?
Well, actually, thanks for having me. This developed many years ago. I've worked in this field for over 14 years, so I've always been around this population, from working at Moccasin Bend, working at various group homes throughout the community, and Orange Grove at some point. So I've always had this in me, and to help people and to serve them. And so I do have a brother that is severely developmentally delayed. And so with that, growing up, when I would see him from time to time, my half brother, I would always want to just do something to kind of help get him, to help people in the community, actually, because there's so many people that need help. There's so many people that are homeless, so many people that are just disenfranchised and just need all the support that they can possibly get in the community. And so I really appreciate this time to come on and talk a little bit about my program. I actually am a nonprofit 501c3, and this is my fifth house. Like I said, three of them are licensed supportive living facilities, which mean I can have 8 or less in a single family home. So I am licensed for 6 in one house. I'm licensed for 8 in the other house and 7 in the one on Daisy Street.
Are you full?
I have a few openings. I stay pretty full. Most of my residents that come in, they stay a long time, so it's permanent housing for them. But many of them, they don't have family support, and so we're pretty much it with a lot of my residents. So they're like family.
And how do these people pay their way or help you pay your way?
Well, actually, right now we get funding through SSI, SSDI, which is Social Security and Social Security disability. So, or VA, or private pay. So we don't get paid through the insurance companies, but we do. It is imperative that you do have insurance in order to be, to be a part of our program. And so with our program, we do the meals, medication monitoring, make sure everyone gets to and from their doctor's appointments. And we help them with daily living skills, like, keeping their room clean, teaching them about their hygiene and grooming. We do have a pastor that comes in on Thursdays and does Bible study. I always encourage my tenants to get out in the community. And so they utilize those services at the AIM Center or the Lighthouse, which are day programs for them to help them with their disability, and provide other services like job placement. They have art, they have field trips that they attend. So these services are very important for my residents to seek their highest level of independence.
Now, the website is qualitylifestyleservice.org. That's qualitylifestyleservice.org if you'd like to find out more about that. Now, do you have private support as well, Ursula, for Quality Lifestyle Services, or do you rely just on government money?
Just on government money. And I was really blessed with this last round of grant to receive not only the houses, but to receive many donations. So I have donated furniture. We have cash donations, and it's all tax deductible. So we've been really blessed to have people, the community, to come out and support this movement in order to get people out of not only out of the hospitals, but out of jails and institutions, to help them to have a better quality of life.
Well, tell us a little bit about maybe one or two of the people who it came from the jail to one of your 5 houses, Ursula.
Okay, so I'm in communications with the mental health courts. So Samantha Bales, she calls me, and she has openings for people, have asked me to have openings for people who are currently incarcerated or going through mental health court in order to have placement, because they need somewhere to go. I mean, the jail is oftentimes not the proper placement for someone that has these mental illnesses. So they really do need support services via case management, the mental health centers, and housing. And so I'm really pleased and excited about the new initiative to get people out of jail. So I get calls to come out and interview them to find out what their situation was that landed them in jail, what their diagnosis is, if they have family support, and what mental health center that they are connected to, so we can continue those services.
Support. Do many of the people who are your clients, have they burned their bridges with family members and have no support from uncles, aunts who may be in the area?
Many have. I'm sad to say, many have, but they have other family. I mean, we're their family, so we reach out and we do things for them on special holidays, and they appreciate us. I have people that have lived with me for 9 and 10 years, so they are like family to us, and so they really appreciate having us there for them, to advocate for them, because that's what I do. I advocate for those who are less fortunate in this capacity, to get people back integrated into our communities, to help establish them to the fullest capability of their independence.
The cash bail system that we have in Hamilton County, Ursula Edwards, keeps many poor people who have, let's say, mental problems in the jail. They can't make the bail. Do you have any among your clients who are in that group, who are maybe weeks in the Walnut Street complex or Silverdale, who just couldn't afford it, but then finally someone gathered up enough money to pay the bail, and now they are in one of your bedrooms in one of your 5 houses?
Well, actually, I have not had that experience with having problems with cash bails. For the majority, I think they may waive those fees. I'm not for certain, but they, when I get them, they are actually pretty much homeless and can't return home. So they look for a group home, which is supportive housing, where there's 24-hour staff in order to accommodate those people. And mind you, they do have some have probation officers. Many of them, they do have case management. So they're not just they're not just throwing them out in the streets. They're making sure the Hamilton County and the jails, they're making sure that these people are stable before they return to the community. Firstly, whether that be to go into the Joe Johnston's Crisis Center to get them stable before they're able to even be discharged to supportive housing.
This is David Tulis. We thank you for joining us. We're live on Facebook at Nooga Radio and also live on YouTube at Hot News Talk Radio. We are 92.7 FM and 95.3 HD4. That's the digital, high-powered digital signal. David Tulis here every morning at 9 o'clock. Do tune in. We're brought to you by Nooganomics.com. That's Nooganomics.com, making interesting deep state analyses today and looking also at the abuse of the free market in houses, the use of the house by an owner for business, how in Nashville that is being blocked, and a lawsuit has been filed by the Beacon Center to overturn a single line of code in that city, typical of the problem overall by against the marketplace by the state and the state's agents in cities and counties. We're talking with Ursula Edwards, who has just recently got a grant to add a 4th and 5th house for quality lifestyle services, where she takes people who are mentally ill or homeless and others connected with the court. Ursula, what about the opioid crisis and your patients? How have they been affected by this lure of officially sanctioned drugs in the marketplace?
Well, that is not directly into my scope. I don't have anyone that is addicted to opiates. I have read and saw in the news that it is a huge crisis in our community. So they would probably be more apt to have placement or services through maybe CADIS or one of those facilities that can accommodate people who are on those type of drugs.
Many officers have had de-escalation training among those who are deputies and in city police departments. Ursula, what about police officer stories, deputy stories among your clients in any of these 5 houses? Are they good stories? Have officers used their training favorably to these individuals? Tell us some details.
Well, I must say, my guys in the line of work and how many years I've been in business, I have had a good communication with the police department and the sheriff's department. I've not had any issues per se with any aggressive and violence. I always specifically ask when one of my guys is having a crisis, like maybe they need more, they're getting violent or aggressive. A IT trained officer, that's the crisis interventions trained officer, someone that has the level of skill and has been trained to deal with people with mental illnesses. So I specifically asked for that for my guys because I know what's happening in the community and around the world with the police officers. So I haven't had any negative experiences with them. So I'm very fortunate in that. And I do specifically ask for those only because I know, not to say that the other police officers may not be, but these guys seem to be a little bit more sensitive towards the mental illnesses. And
well, when you say sensitive to the mentally ill, what does that imply? What does that imply? If you don't have the training and don't have the compassion, how might you act against a mentally ill person, as opposed to how you might act if you have that training and if you exercise that compassion?
Well, from my experience, sir, that would look like someone being a little bit more compassionate and understanding, and knowing exactly what type of triggers that may set someone off or make the situation escalate. So when you get a CIT trained officer, as opposed to just any officer, they may not be as sensitive to those issues, that this person may be hearing voices or this person may be seeing things. So when you get someone that is trained, they know exactly what to look for, and they're more amped to kind of come in and not be so direct towards them, to be more specific towards their illness and towards their the symptoms that they may be having.
You mentioned on your website, Ursula Edwards, that 46% of the of people who are mentally ill are homeless. 20% of people, by one count, who are prisoners have mental illness, and 20% of youth in the court system have some kind of mental disturbance.
Absolutely. We did get those stats off of line for this area in our area in Chattanooga, Tennessee. So this is widespread. This is across the globe. With the homelessness, I get referrals from the homeless healthcare downtown on 11th Street, the community kitchen. I get referrals from jails. Of course, I get referrals from Moccasin Bend, the mental health co-op, Helen Ross McNabb, Joe Johnson. I mean, all over the city and other parts of the state and out of state. So people hear about me, and my passion is to help people get off the streets and out of the hospitals, back into the community where they can thrive and have a good quality of life. So that is my passion. And I also make referrals to people. I try to keep close contact with my peers and my colleagues to find out who does have an opening, so I can make the proper referral from the other sources in the community.
Well, it sounds like you have a huge workload, Ursula Edwards. So the question I want to ask you now is, how many people work for you, either part-time or full-time or as volunteers? And what is your census in the 5 houses that you operate?
Okay, so right now I have 7 employees, and the employees, they have been wonderful. I can't do what I do without them. They're very dedicated, and they're my clientele is all males right now. So all of my houses have all male tenants and clients. So that has just worked out better for me.
And, well, what's your capacity and what's your census today?
Right now, I'm at full capacity at 2 houses. And so right now I have maybe 2 openings at my new facility, the one that you saw in the newspaper. So 2 male beds open. So
the report in the paper mentioned a 4th and 5th house. So there's a reference to, where's the 3rd facility?
Right. So there's 2 on Jersey Pike. Okay. And there are 2 on Daisy Street. And there's 1 at Northmore. So that's 5. Yeah. The 2 on Jersey Pike, they're right side by side, like adjacent to each other.
What's happening there? Are they under construction or?
No, they're already open.
Okay.
We're already open, and the houses was move-in ready. So I only had to do the requirements for the fire marshal in order to make that happen and get it.
Okay. Well,
right.
what is the total capacity of your whole business, your whole nonprofit charity? What's the capacity of?
It's 24.
24. Okay. Yep. And that's at 5 houses.
Yep. That's at 5 houses.
Well, this is David Tulis. We do thank you, our listener, for tuning in. And you say, Ursula, that you'd like to have some private funding. How is that to be done? What just in a nutshell, what is the pitch that you make for private funding of your operation?
Well, my pitch would be either monetary donations. We take all kinds of we take furniture, clothing, whatever you have to donate to us, because like I said, these guys, we're pretty much all that they have. So, and we're 501c3, so everything is tax deductible if they want to make any donations.
This is David Tulis, and Ursula, thanks for joining us.
Thank you for having me.
This is David Tulis. We are glad that you're tuning in to our show. It's the David Tulis program, live every day at 9 o'clock here at 92.7 FM. We're live on Facebook. And I'm an active writer. I cover local economy and the free market, and that is at Nooganomics.com. We're exploring today, where does the state get standing to prosecute you in a criminal case? You might think, well, I'm never going to be prosecuted in a criminal case. Well, you might be, as Michael Flynn was, right? And he made some serious mistakes, and the main one he made was talking with the cops. He should not have done that at all. He should have talked with no one at all. He should have said, if you have something on me, indict me. Otherwise, get out of my house and get out of my office. He didn't do that. He thought he could talk his way out of it, and there was some discrepancies that came up in the dialogue, and so he admitted that he lied and got nailed for that. So this is the interaction with the state is almost always hazardous, and so if you're ever prosecuted, it is done on a mythical basis, a mythical theory, and there's a Latin word for it. So find out what the Latin word is on how the state gets standing to prosecute you in a criminal matter. It doesn't have it legally. It doesn't have it legally, and yet it claims it in a kind of artistic and, well, mythical fashion. You could say it's a power ex nihilo. It comes from nothing, a power from nowhere that it obtains to prosecute criminal matters against people like you and many others. In fact, a surabundance, an overabundance of people prosecuted in Hamilton County by Neil Pinkston and the police officers, a system which needs to be cut down by 95%. And this is David Tulis. I have proposed that if you obey the law, you can cut back on prosecutions almost entirely, because most prosecutions that we are dealing with today are bogus. They are unable, the prosecutor is unable to make the case for a culpable conscience. And that's a requirement of every prosecution. It has to be in evidence in every criminal trial. David Tulis.
Traffic, news, and information. Nooga Radio, Digital FM 95.3.